Hello, everyone. My name is Ross Yeomans, and this is my first ever tennis YouTube video. I wanted to give you a little bit of a background first. I've been a tennis fan since probably the early 2000s. I saw the tail end of Pete Sampras's career and then straight into Roger Federer's era, um, or the start of his era. I loved watching him play in Grand Slam tournaments and just the complete domination in the early 2000s. And then with Rafael Nadal coming into the picture and followed by Djokovic and Murray, you can say that I am a big fan of the big three. I still love going with the big four with Murray, even though I know he really doesn't deserve to be quite in the same category as them, but I like lumping them together. Um, my favorite player is Novak Djokovic, and probably the biggest reason for that is my first ever tennis match that I went to see was at the 2010 US Open. It was the quarterfinal matchup between Novak Djokovic and Gael Monfils. At the time, I was probably more of a Roger Federer fan. I had a lot of respect for Rafael Nadal. Novak Djokovic, Andy Murray, I thought were cool, but at that time I didn't necessarily think that they would really ever break through and get to Nadal and Federer's level. I even saw Gael Monfils in a light not too far, maybe behind Novak Djokovic at that time. Granted, I know Djokovic had already won his first Grand Slam tournament at the Australian Open in 2008 and had won several Masters 1000s, but I was still kind of at the time thinking, well, maybe Gael Monfils will eventually push it to the next level and be competitive. So I was very much looking forward to that matchup, and I thought it was going to be, a great matchup. With that said, Novak Djokovic won it somewhere in the likes of 7-6, 6-1, or 6-2, or something like that. And that stat line doesn't really even paint the most accurate picture of how much Novak Djokovic absolutely demolished Gael Monfils in that match. It was really unbelievable. I was not expecting it at all. Gael Monfils, we all know, one of the most athletic guys on the court. He moves very well, has great shot making ability. But on this day, Novak Djokovic had an answer to everything. And I just could not believe how fast he was moving, how hard he was hitting the ball, the contortion hitting that we have seen from him now for many years. Just seeing it in person was a whole nother realization of how good this guy is at tennis. And at that time, Novak Djokovic, while consistently being the world number 3, was really struggling to get over that hump of beating Nadal, beating Federer, and all that. And we know, in hindsight now, after the U.S. Open, Djokovic goes on to win the Davis Cup with Team Serbia, and then 2011, arguably his greatest season, maybe 2015. But he really turned it into next gear. So ever since I saw that match against Gael Monfils, I was like, I'm rooting for this guy. I've seen him in person. I was just blown away at how good he was, and I just found him really easy to root for, and I've been a fan of him ever since. So want to definitely say before I go into the topic of this video, again, I am a huge fan of Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic, also Andy Murray, and all of that, and I want to see those guys persevere and continue to succeed until the day that they retire, whenever that is. As much as I want Novak Djokovic to win everything, I am still of the mindset that, say he gets bounced from Roland Garros, I'm rooting for Nadal or Federer to win over the next generation, just because I want to continue to see that dominance among those players. And then once they all retire, if all of the younger guys want to really up their game and push things to winning slams and all of that, go for it. But I'm just hoping not until they all retire first. The big three retire first. So Djokovic is my favorite player. I wanted to make a video today. He's had such a historic career. Obviously, I think you got to put him at least in the conversation as the greatest of all time. I will say right now, I think it is still too early to say that definitively. There's so many different stats and achievements that you can cherry pick and make a strong case for Federer, Nadal, or Djokovic. I think from a longevity standpoint and overall right now, I'm still going to give the edge to Roger Federer personally. However, I do think that by the time they all retire, that Novak Djokovic will have achieved enough to take the cake. Obviously, I think we'll be debating this probably for eternity, and it's a lot of fun, and it's just good conversation to have. So even though maybe I give the edge to Roger Federer right now, again, big Djokovic fan. He's accomplished so much. I wanted to compile a list of achievements that I would like Djokovic to either accomplish or he may already hold the record. I want to make sure that he holds on to that record or that achievement. So it was really, really tough ranking these, and I've got 15 different categories, and I'm sure there's probably 100 we could come up with. And I'd be really interested to hear in your guys' comments below if you would add any to what I put in, or if you would change the order up, whatever it is. It's fun to talk about. So if I was to put in the most important thing, number one thing that I would like Djokovic to do, pretty obvious, I think, have the most Grand Slam wins. So right now, Djokovic is 18, and Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal have 20. I think Djokovic has a strong. I think it's very likely that Djokovic will end up on top. But if there was one thing, for the rest of his career that I would like for him to see, it would be to have the most Grand Slams. Historically, in tennis, that does seem to be what people measure greatness by. I know when Pete Sampras got his 14th at the 2002 U.S. Open, everybody, or a lot of people, thought that he was the greatest of all time because of that accomplishment. Obviously, you can argue that Rod Laver or whoever else is the greatest, and maybe Grand Slams isn't the most important. But I think most people overall would say career, most Grand Slams, the most important factor. So I think it's very strong. I think it's very likely that Nadal will win the French Open this year, crossing my fingers that Djokovic pulls it out. Definitely not going to put Djokovic out of contention, despite last November, Nadal's beatdown of Djokovic in the final. New year, you never know. We'll see. Wimbledon, I know Federer is doing the best he can to get back and ready. I'm sure Federer wants to win that again. I do think at this point Djokovic is the favorite to win that, and in fact for the rest of the year I would say Wimbledon is the most likely Grand Slam tournament that Djokovic will win of the three remaining. And then we have the US Open as well. That, I think the next gen has the best chance of winning. However, I do see Federer, Nadal, Djokovic still the favorites. We shall see. I think a lot of times towards the end of the year, they get a little bit tired. U.S. Open, I don't know. We've seen Cilic win it in 2014. We saw Thiem win it last year. I think the big three don't have quite as strong of a grip on the U.S. Open there. Juan Martín del Potro won it in 2009, etc. So that's number one, most Grand Slams. The second thing that the biggest thing that I want to see Djokovic accomplish by the time he retires, and this wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you guys disagree with me on this, is I would like for him to get the Olympic gold, and we know it's happening this summer in Tokyo. And the reason I want him to get the Olympic gold is that's considered one of the big titles. He still doesn't have it, but that would also give Djokovic the career Golden Slam, which Nadal currently does have. He's won all 4 Grand Slam tournaments plus the Olympics. So that's something that Djokovic hasn't accomplished. He's got the bronze medal, but the singles Olympics has definitely eluded him. Murray has won it the past 2 times. I know Murray is gunning for that this year. I do believe that Federer is also prioritizing that, because Federer also does not have an Olympic singles gold. He does have the doubles with Wawrinka. And that will also give Djokovic the Super Grand Slam, or is it the Super Golden Slam, which also includes the year-end championship. So Andre Agassi is the only player in the Open era to have accomplished that. So that's all 4 slams, the ATP finals at the end of the year, and the Olympics. So over the course of the career. Because as we know, Rafael Nadal has not won the year-end championship yet. So that's number 2. I would love for him to see that. I do think this year might be his last shot at it. I hate to say it. It's tough to say what's going to happen in 4 years or 3. I'm not sure how it's going to work since the Olympics got pushed back a year. But I would imagine 4 years from now, he'll be 4 years older. He's turning, 34 in May. So he'll be 38. It's tough. I know Federer, who's 39, is going for it, but we'll see. So I think this is really his biggest shot at it. Number 3, Djokovic currently holds this. I'd like him to finish his career with a better head-to-head matchup against Nadal and Federer. So currently, Djokovic has a 29-27 overall head-to-head matchup against Nadal, and he has a 27 wins against 23 losses to Roger Federer. I think when really analyzing greatest of all time, it is much more difficult to make a case for someone if they don't have the best head-to-head matchup against their peers. And really, I mean, it's an interesting thing here, because a 2-match difference or 2-win difference with Djokovic over Nadal, 29-27, when you've played that many matches, does it really, really matter that much? Like, it pretty much signals to me, even though Djokovic has more, it can go either way. But I think historically, looking back on matchups and trying to consider who's the greatest of all time, just seeing more in the win column is going to go a long ways. So you can make a strong case either way. Number 4, let's see, I'm using a paper here. So let's see, number 4. Okay, another one Djokovic currently has, and that's most weeks at number 1. So as I'm making this video, Djokovic just entered his 314th week at number 1. Federer, we know, is at 310. Nadal, I believe, is 209. I think it's very, very likely that Djokovic will hold this record for quite some time. I think no one probably currently playing will challenge it, although I would say, maybe Tsitsipas. Anybody Tsitsipas or younger might have a shot, since Tsitsipas is only 22. I don't think Tsitsipas will do it because he's got a lot to prove. But I think even players like Medvedev, Thiem, since they still have not held number 1 at all, they're probably too old right now to get enough weeks to pass them. So there's that. So number 5. Okay, so the 5th most important thing that I'd like to see Novak Djokovic achieve is I'd like him to get another career Grand Slam. As in, I'd like to see him win another French Open. Part of this goes to just like overall dominance. You want to see you want to see more. You want to see success sort of spread out more, and it's not a knock on, like, say, Rafael Nadal winning 13 French Open titles, but I think it does say something when you see someone winning numerous titles across all surfaces, especially at the highest level of Grand Slams. And interestingly enough, Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, none of them have accomplished this yet. So we know Djokovic and Federer have only won one French Open, and Nadal has only won one Australian Open. So to Nadal's credit, he has numerous hardcourt Grand Slam victories if you combine Australian Open and US Open. He has numerous Wimbledon, obviously numerous French Open titles, so that's a strong case for him as to why he might be the best. Federer overall, like, I love to see how he's kind of won his Grand Slams spread out. Like, I don't have these numbers on top of me, but I know he's won 8 Wimbledon, he's won 1 French Open, so then he's probably won, 5 or 6 Australian Opens, 5 or 6 US Opens, so that's his 20 right there. So he has 5 plus Grand Slams of 3 of the 4 tournaments, so that's pretty good. So I mean, just getting 2 French Opens, that'll be something, again, neither Federer or Nadal have accomplished. I think that makes a really, really strong case for why he could be the best. Number 6 is ending the year at number 1. So Djokovic currently holds this. He has 6 years ending at number 1. Federer and Nadal have 5. Again, I think it's probably unlikely that Federer is going to be able to do enough to add to his number. Nadal, I think, has more of a shot at that. So Djokovic might, between the 3 of them, finish with the most already. But I think this makes a strong case for him being the best. This year, it's looking like he's got a good shot at making a 7. I'd love to see that separation. That's all I'm going to say on that. So number 7 is specifically the year-end championship titles. So Federer has 6. Djokovic has 5, Nadal has 0. So in my research, maybe you guys can correct me a little bit. I know Sampras has 5. I was also seeing on Wikipedia that they're listing Lendl as 5. I get a little hazy in the gray area of, like, what differentiates ATP finals at the end of the year versus they had the WTC, the WCT back in the day and all of that. But I'd love to see Djokovic take another title there at the end of the year to at least tie Federer. That's something that I think Federer, neither of the big 3 have won the title since, let's see, it's got to go as far back as 2015 probably, because Murray won it in 2016. 2017 was Dimitrov. 2018, Zverev beat Djokovic in the final. 2019 was Tsitsipas, and 2020 was Daniil Medvedev. So, that's definitely something. End of the year, maybe they're a little bit more tired. Maybe they're mentally drained. They've struggled with a little bit. But yeah, I'd like to see Djokovic get to number 6, maybe number 7, year-end championship. Number 8, and this kind of goes along with Grand Slams, year-end championships, also Masters and Olympics. Djokovic currently leads total big titles. So total big titles is your Grand Slams, your year-end championship titles, your ATP finals, your Masters 1000s, and your Olympics. Djokovic has 59. He has 18 Grand Slams. He has the 5 ATP year-end championships. He has the 36 Masters and 0 Olympics. Nadal has 55, 20 Grand Slams, 0 year-end, 35 Masters, 1 Olympics. Federer has 54, 20 Grand Slams, 6 year-end, 28 Masters, 0 Olympics. Why this isn't up higher on my list is, while I think Masters is, really important and all of that in terms of just having a dominant year and winning tournaments throughout the year. There's 9 of them a year. That's something that you can add to your list rather significantly over the course of the year. Still really important, but I think the 7 before it are more. So number 9, kind of building on that, is just most Masters. Djokovic leads at 36. Nadal has 35. Federer has 28. So neck and neck there. Interestingly enough, Djokovic has 10 clay court titles. Nadal has 10 hard court titles. There's more hard court titles than clay court titles over the year, but just thought that was pretty interesting. Number 10, just overall career titles. So currently, Jimmy Connors' singles titles in the Open era has 109. Federer's trailing at 103. Lendl's at 94. Nadal's at 86. Djokovic is at 82. So what is that? Quick math here. We're about 27 titles away. Say he plays for another 5 years, he'd have to average just over 5 titles a year to get to your 109, 110. I do feel Federer is also trying to accomplish more than 109, so we'll see. Maybe the bar is set even higher. Number 11, ending your career with the best match record percentage. So as we speak right now, and this obviously you have to play 500 plus matches to qualify, Nadal is edging Djokovic. He's got an 83.1% win rate across all surfaces. Djokovic is at 83.08, so 0.02 of a percentage off. Bjorn Borg is third at 82.4%. Federer is at 82%. Number 12, I'm actually putting matches won as the just under win percentage. And just to give you some statistics on that, Jimmy Connors holds the most Open era match wins at 1274. Federer's at 1243. Lendl's at 1068. Nadal is at 1008. Guillermo Vilas is at 951. And Djokovic is at 943. So he's 300 matches behind Federer. And I did a little bit of math on this, and maybe I'm taking it a little bit conservatively, but say Djokovic averages about 65 matches per season from here on out. We know he's trying to focus on the Grand Slams, so he may not play quite as many tournaments, quite as many matches. I think the matches or the tournaments he does play is going to be the higher caliber tournament, so the competition is going to be that much harder. So I'm just saying if he averaged 65 matches and he continues his 83% win rate, which also might be a little bit more challenging, I would expect as you age that's actually going to drop. So this is maybe not the fairest estimate. If he was to continue to win at 83% win rate, that would give him 55 wins per year. In order to pass Jimmy Connors' 1274, he'd have to play for another 6+ years. So that's taking him to about 40. So this one is definitely going to be maybe one of the more difficult ones to obtain. Granted, I did my math correctly. And excuse me, I said he's 300 behind Federer. Jimmy Connors is at the top at 1274. Number 13 is so I put this lower on the list just because I think it's in the grand scheme of things. I don't know how well it will speak to his GOAT status, and I'll explain that why in a second. And it's the 3 times Golden Masters. So currently Djokovic is a 2-time Golden Masters winner, meaning he's won all 9 Masters tournaments twice. And that's an accomplishment that no other Open Era player has even accomplished once. Federer has not done it. Nadal has not done it. So Federer, what's interesting is he's missing 2 of the 9, and that's the Monte Carlo and the Italian Open, or the one in Rome. Both clay court tournaments. He's kind of shown that he's maybe not playing as many clay court tournaments anymore. He took several years off on that with the French Open. Definitely seems like his priority is grass, so we'll see if he plays clay this year. Might do it for some conditioning, we'll see. But what's interesting is he's made it to the final of Monte Carlo 4 times, and he's also made it to the Italian Open, or the Rome final, 4 times as well. So he's come so close, but he hasn't quite done it. So Rafael Nadal, he's also won 7 of the 9, and he's missing 2. And the 2 that he's missing is Miami, and I think kind of funny, the Paris Masters. So he's so good in France. He's so good at Roland Garros. Obviously, they're very, very different tournaments. Roland Garros is outside. Paris Masters is an indoor tournament. It's at the end of the year. Different. It's a whole different ball game. But I just think that's kind of funny for some reason. And then Miami, he's been to the final 5 times. 5 times, and has yet to win it, including the first time was either 2005 or 2006. Back then, the championship match was a best of 5, and he actually won the first 2 sets against Roger Federer, and Federer came back and won the next three sets to take the title. One of the very, very few times that Nadal has won 2 sets and then lost the match. So he's super close on that one. So the reason that it's a little bit lower on my list, even though I would love for Djokovic to win all 9 Masters tournaments 3 times, is because he's already done it twice. No one else has even done it once. So that's already such a huge accomplishment. Doing it one more time in the grand scheme of things, I don't know how much more people will look onto that. But just interesting tidbit, in order for Djokovic to get 3 times, he would have to win Monte Carlo one more time, and he'd have to win Cincinnati one more time. So we know Cincinnati was the one that he got last for his first championship, and then he's since done it twice in the past 3 years. Monte Carlo is the next Masters 1000 tournament this year, so I'm going to be super excited to see him play that. And then looking ahead, if we wanted to go 4 times, which maybe I'm just getting ridiculous here, he'd have to win Monte Carlo again, he'd have to win Cincinnati again, and then he'd have to win Madrid. So really unlikely, I think, that will happen, but I think it would be an incredible accomplishment. Just major bragging rights, I guess. Number 14, we're getting close to the end here. In terms of accomplishments, this might be one of the greatest accomplishments if he was able to pull it off, and that would be the single season Golden Slam. So that's winning all 4 Grand Slam tournaments plus the Olympics in the same year. If we want to put the icing on the cake, winning the year-end championship as well. Yeah, it would be remarkable. I'm not going to say that it's impossible. But in terms of necessary. Like, is it necessary for Djokovic to go down as the greatest of all time? No, I don't think it is. It would definitely boost his case. He's the only one of the big three to win all 4 slams in a row, even though it's different calendar years. But doing it in one calendar year would be massive. Doing it on the year that it wins Olympic gold would be incredible. And then if you want to throw in the year-end championship and get the single season super Grand Slam, Golden Slam, that would be just unheard of. But yeah, and then the last one, I just kind of threw this in here, and it kind of alludes to something I spoke about earlier. I'd like to see Djokovic win a few more Wimbledons and a few more US Opens. I'm not going to lie, it really kills me that he's only won 3 US Open titles, and he's been to the final. I didn't do the math right now, but he's been to the final many, many times. Lost it in 2007. He lost it in 2010, 2012, 2013. So he's been there many times, and for him to only have won 3, it kills me. That's one thing that I look very highly again on Federer's record, is that he's won at least 5 of the 3 of the 4 Grand Slam tournaments. So for him to get at least say 2 more US Opens, make it an even 5. Wimbledon, I think even though Australian Open is like his tournament nowadays, just the way that the game is, I haven't really seen much from the next gen in terms of their grass capabilities. I really just see Federer as his obstacle, so I think it's very likely that Djokovic can win, several more Wimbledon titles. I would love for him to tie Federer's 8 Wimbledon titles. Not necessary. I'd love to see at least 1 or 2 more. Would be incredible. But just to kind of even out the Grand Slams at each tournament. So that's my 15. There's so many more that we could talk about. We could talk about peak ELO ratings, peak ATP points. We could talk about consecutive accomplishments. We could talk about surfaces. So many different avenues we can go down. I'd be really, really interested as to how you guys rank things. If there's items that you would include on your list that you'd like to see Djokovic accomplish that I didn't include. But yeah, really interested in your thoughts, and thank you guys so much. I'm hoping to keep making YouTube videos, and hopefully I get a little bit better at this. All right, bye.